Welcome to Voices of Women. I'm your host, Chris Stanis, and I'm also the founder of Women of Wisdom Foundation. We put on conferences in Seattle, Washington since 1993, and we are planning our 29th annual conference. And for the very first time, it's going to be virtual. So that means we'll be meeting people from all over the United States, and we're hoping even around the world. Our dates are March 11th through the 14th. And you can find everything out about it at our website, womenofwisdom.org. Our theme is celebrating spirit of women, united we are one. We have lots of experiential workshops, and I'm sharing a special guest today who's going to be giving a workshop, Ashley Looker. Ashley is a certified wellness and empowerment coach, a yoga teacher, happiness expert, and a journal junkie. I like that.
Yes.
Over this past 7 years, she has taught thousands of ambitious, overachieving women how to slow down and align with their soul purpose so they can step out of overwhelm and busyness and into their joy. She believes that soul-centered living is radical and necessary to overcoming all the messages we've been taught about hustle and what it means to be an empowered woman. She's the author and creator of the 108-Day Happy as F star CK, can't say it, habit journal, and the accompanying Happy as F star CK journal prompt card deck. Ashley hosts her own weekly podcast as well. Now, she's going to be giving a workshop on March 12th. It's called Reclaiming Your Wild Woman Through Soul-Centered Living. She's also going to be participating in our panel. This year we're having panels, which is great to do on our online. And this one is on stories of our gifts, wisdom through the generations. So she is representing the 30-year-olds, correct?
Yes.
Yep, 30-year-olds.
Yep.
And sharing her wisdom and stories of beauty, resilience, and strength across the generations. We'll be hearing from different people from teens to 20s, on up 50s, 50s, and 70s. So that's going to be great. So welcome, Ashley.
Thank you so much, Chris. I'm so excited to be here today.
Yes, we're happy to have you at this year's conference and just have that exuberance that you bring and that wild woman. So tell us about yourself, how you got started in empowerment coaching for women.
Yeah. So, oh gosh, this could be a very long story, but I will try to keep it short. Back in 2012, I started having some of my own personal health struggles. I was actually diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis at the age of 23. And and I had never had like any like health issues in my family in my past. And so this like really threw me for a loop. And I went to the doctor and he prescribed me this medication that literally had symptoms or side effects at literally as long as my arm. And he was like, I think you should try something different, like try an alternative therapy. And at 23, I had no idea like what to do. And so I did some research, came across this thing called holistic health. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna try that. And so I did. I started like looking at my diet. I started looking at like my stress levels, my career, like all these different things. And I found out very quickly, Chris, that like I had a very crappy diet. Like I was doing a lot of things wrong in my life, to be honest. And so I started slowly making changes over time. And I healed myself, like something that I thought was impossible, I was able to do. And so I was like, I want to teach other people how to do this. So I became a health coach, and over the years, I loved it. You know, I think food is so important, but I started to realize that the conversations I was having with women weren't around food. Like it had their struggles with body image or their weight or whatever it was had nothing to do with food. And it had a lot to do with the decisions that we were making. It was a lot about our lifestyle. It was a lot about our how worthy we felt in the world. And so the conversations became about empowerment and aligning with our values and being in integrity with who we are. And I just took that and ran with it. I was like, this is what I want to do. This is something that resonates with me. And so that's how I became an empowerment coach. And I just love talking about purpose. Like I love talking about just and having these deeper conversations about spirituality and yeah, just purpose and what it means to be who you're meant to be in the world and show up as that person. So yeah.
And I would imagine when you were talking, I was thinking, well, working on all those issues would impact how you eat as well. Because
Oh
if
my
your
gosh.
self-worth of how you feel about yourself so plays into how you take care of yourself and how you eat. So that would improve
Absolutely.
one's eating habits, I'm sure. So that's great. It's great to have that story. Like you just didn't have a dream to be an empowerment coach. Like, hey, I want to do this. You had a reason.
Yes.
And
Oh my gosh.
you have a story to share. So I want to get to your
Yeah.
topic, wild woman. And you had
Yes.
a comment. You say that we are born a wild woman. So I want to
Mhm.
know, what do you see in babies that tells you that?
Oh my gosh. Just like they have no they have no veil. You know what I mean? They haven't been taught like anything about who they should be or have any expectations of themselves in the world. They're just, they make these weird noises. They like move and dance and shake. Like if you see any toddler and you put music on, the first thing they're going to want to do is dance. They want to that's just who they are. And we lose that.
Mm-hmm.
We lose that. We yeah, we get out of touch with that part of ourselves, with that wild, like just authentic, flowing, intuitive person.
And so that makes me think, because we get so busy in our life and we get to our purpose. What's our goal? What are we supposed to do in our life as an adult? We lose touch with that. So we get so um, working on driving ourselves to be that, whatever it is, be
Mm.
that doctor, be that teacher, that we let play. And that, the wild woman sounds like, somebody who's play and who's spontaneous. We kind of let that
Yes.
go because, okay, now we got to be serious in our life. And so part of it, yeah, I would imagine your coaching is balancing that, letting people find out about, bringing that joy to what you do in your work, but
Yes.
also allowing yourself to have that time to play and access that wild woman.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And actually, Chris, one of the things that I've been kind of rediscovering and getting curious about myself is what is purpose? Like, how do we define purpose for ourselves? I think it's very individual, but also I think that it comes back to that true nature of who we are. I think that our purpose, and we get into this in the Wild Woman workshop, but is to be joyful and to live from that energy more often instead of the how many things can I get done, the to-do list, the taking care the of other people, putting everybody else's needs before our own, all these expectations that have been put upon us or that we've been taught. um and really it's about stripping those things away, because I think the other thing about purpose is that it makes me nervous to think, okay, my purpose is to be an empowerment coach. Well, what happens if if that role changes, right? And then all of my purpose eggs are in this empowerment coach basket, right? I don't think that our purpose just disappears because we're no longer a teacher or a coach, or right? It's something that goes beyond that. And of
Yeah,
course, we all
deeper.
hope,
Mhm.
yeah, we all hope that our purpose can be expressed through how, what we do in the world in terms of our career, but that's not always the case, right? So I think it really does come back to joy. It really is a big part of our purpose, I believe.
Well, do you think that's particularly important right now for us to connect with the wild woman?
Yes, yes. Like if I could scream that from the rooftops right now, I totally would. I think it's more important now than ever. I think as women, and so I'm 36, just full disclosure. Um, I can't imagine what my mom has experienced. She's 63, what she's experienced in terms of being tamed. That's the word that comes to mind. Is I think over the years women have been tamed. And
Wow,
it's,
that's an interesting word to use.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
because I think, our culture has taught us to live from a more masculine place, to
Mhm.
do, to be, to hustle, to just do all these things to earn our worth. And that just simply isn't the truth. We're worthy already. And now I think more than ever, it's important to live from that wild, intuitive nature that is inherent in every single woman.
So, what's one way that we can bring out our wild woman? What do you teach people? Like, what's the first step to get in touch with
Oh
that
my
wild woman?
gosh. Yeah. Um, so something that I think is kind of radical these days is to put joy at the top of our to-do list. For so many of us, we have to do XYZ. We have to, be these things first. And then, okay, then I can play. Then I can go do this thing. Then I can make time for my joy. Then I can go have fun. No, I think it's a really radical way of being, and even like a wild and untamed way of being, to prioritize our joy. And whatever that is for you. I do a lot of work with women around identifying, well, what does that look like for me? Because I think so many of us have lost touch of, what does it look like to play? What does it look like to have fun these days? What does it look like to what is joy to me? And we all get to define that for ourselves. So prioritizing that can be an amazing way to tap into the wild woman. Dance, painting, howling at the moon, connecting with your girlfriend, skinny dipping. I mean, it's just the list goes on and on.
So, and partly I'm hearing like schedule it. Like maybe it's the first thing you do in the morning when you wake up, or you think about what is going to bring me joy today, and schedule that in your schedule. Like, okay, 6 o'clock tonight, I'm going to take a walk and go
Yes.
see somebody, or I'm going to summertime, midnight, skinny dip. I don't know, whatever
Yeah.
it is.
Exactly. That's actually one of the things that I suggest with my clients, is to schedule it, right? If it needs to be an intentional thing, because we're not used to it. It's so easy to just fall back into that pattern and to just, like, putting it at the bottom of our list. So make it the priority, schedule it in, and make it happen. Yes, exactly, Chris.
So what prevents us from doing that? I mean, other than what we've already talked about,
Oh my
what are those
gosh.
blocks?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think again, it goes back to the expectations. Um, and I think guilt. I think a lot of us feel guilty if we, because joy doesn't have an outcome. We're so used to like having an outcome or having a result, or like I said, checking the thing off the list. Joy doesn't have joy doesn't have an outcome other than just being joyful. And so that can feel very indulgent in a culture that is driven by this masculine energy of hustling and doing and going all the time. So that's been a big one for me personally. And just, yeah, just the expectation that I'm a strong woman, that I can get it all done, I can do all of these things. I think that's another thing that gets in our way. um yeah, I would say that those are probably two of the biggest ones that I see.
hmm And you talked about like finding that joy in play. One of the things
Mhm.
that I talk about is for people to think about when they were a child, when they were younger, and what were they
Yes.
passionate about? What excited them? Was it dance? Was it art? What was it that they've set aside? Because we learn that's not important anymore, or we're shushed down. That exuberant little kid is kind of, be quiet, you're too
Oh
loud,
my
you're
god.
too boisterous. And so
Yeah.
we turn that creative part of ourselves off. So what are we passionate about?
Oh my gosh, I love that, Chris. Like we've actually done a podcast episode on that before. Like um it's impossible to be too much. right? Like it's impossible to be too much to, because that's just being who you are, right? If you're boisterous and loud, like that's who you are. And we can't squelch that. We can't tame that down because we're taming the most authentic, real, wild parts of ourselves when we do that, right? Like when we're told, oh, we're too sensitive, and things like that. I don't know. I think it's BS, right? But it takes like being conscious of these things. Yeah, and I love that. Get in touch. Like, what did you like to do as a child?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we've forgotten. Yes.
you've
So the
forgotten.
other aspect of your workshop is about soul-centered living. So let's talk about that. Define that for us, and what does that look like for you?
Oh my gosh. This just lights me up. Number one. Um, Soul-centered living is all about slowing down. It is all about reconnecting back to who you are authentically meant to be while you're here on this planet. Um, it is all about depth. I think because I keep going back to it, but it has so much to do with where we're at in the world today. Like what we've been taught with hustling and going and doing all the time. Like we live on such a superficial level, we're just like little robots moving through the world trying to earn our worth. And soul-centered living is living from a more mindful, conscious, deeply connected to your soul place. And for me that really is joy. Living soul-centered is not missing out on the moments that I believe are the most important. The way the wind feels as you're walking outside, like hugging your partner goodbye when they leave, and like really savoring that hug. All these little simple, beautiful, extraordinary moments that we miss. And so that is what soul-centered living looks like for me, and that's what I try to teach, is really prioritizing those things, making time for those things, and making time and energy toward what you want to put your time and energy toward. What do you want? That is a question that I think is really important to ask ourselves right now too. What do I want? And my hunch is that answer is going to be a soul-centered, intuitive, wild woman answer.
Yeah, and it takes that slowing down. You mentioned slowing down to get
Yes.
in touch with that inner part of yourself that you have finding what you want. Listening, meditating, and just, yeah, taking
Yes.
that time to have the quiet moments during, each day, whether it can be done in a few minutes or it can be done in an hour. It isn't always a time thing. It's just paying attention and being aware of what's going on
Oh,
around you.
yes. Oh my gosh. So, so important. And I'll be the first to admit that although it is wonderful, it's hard for some of us to make that time, but it's essential. It is a necessity if you want to really tap into that wild woman. Yeah.
I find when I do that, slow down and take that inner time, that me time, everything still gets done and even more smoothly
Right.
and with ease. And like, oh well, I got everything done, and I didn't, spend half the time really than I
Oh
probably
my
thought. And
Yes. Oh my gosh, Chris, exactly. It's so true. Like for so many of us, I think we subscribed unconsciously to this belief that everything has to be hard, right? But it doesn't have to be hard. Like actually by slowing down, we're more efficient, we're more connected, and guess what? All the things still get done.
they do.
So,
And if they didn't, they weren't important, is what I say. Like
right?
I forget things and go, well, if it's important, that thought will come back.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yes, exactly.
So do you have a tool that to help people to slow down and make this soul purpose connection?
Oh my gosh. So you hit on a few of them for sure. I think getting back to our roots, like you said, meditation, like spending time in nature, those are some great ones. One that I love, and it's easily built into our lives. It just takes our conscious awareness, is savoring, like taking time to savor these amazing moments in our life. Like, how many times do we just pour the cup of coffee and like just start guzzling it down without recognizing and noticing like how it smells and what it tastes like and how it feels as you hold it in your hands? Things like that that can just elevate the life experience. So savoring, I think, is, and again, like, you can choose it at any moment, like this candle that I have lit, like just smelling it and being here with you, being present to our lives, I think is just, it's like I said, it's so simple, but it's incredibly powerful and empowering. So that's the tool that I have.
Yeah, it reminds me, I have my mother's china cups for teacups. Well,
Yeah.
for coffee, I don't drink coffee, but I found that, and I haven't done it for a while, but I found that the tea tastes better in those bone china cups. And it was like, wow, it was like that savoring moment, like, wow, this is a really nice way to have tea. And we kind of lose, we have our mugs, we have our, you know, paper
Mhm.
cups from Starbucks or whatever. But I have a cupboard that has those teacups, and it's a memory too of,
Yes.
when we grew up, if we had special occasions, we use those cups. And
Mhm.
I was kind of surprised to learn that the tea tastes better, which, I don't know why.
It's like yeah, being mindful of where that it came from and the specialness behind it too, just adds to the experience. And just think about the things that we experience throughout the day that, that often go overlooked. And so this is such a powerful exercise and tool. You can do it anytime, anywhere.
Mhm. Yeah. And it's just stopping, paying attention, being aware, breathe,
Breathe.
instead of
Oh,
just going through the actions, but just being, yeah, being conscious of what we're doing.
yeah, it
Yeah.
reminds me
Well,
of that quote, like, and I'm gonna hopefully not botch this, but it's like, there are two ways in which we can live: as if everything is a miracle or as if nothing is a miracle, right? Kind of reminds me of that. Like, all these things that we experience they're just amazing little miracles happening right before our eyes. Just
yeah.
catching them.
Yeah. And they're everyday little things that we don't think of as miracles, but if
Mhm.
you look at it, there's probably a miracle there. Well, I would like to know, and I'm sure it's probably kind of obvious, but I've asked people, how does your workshop contribute to our theme, celebrating spirit of women, united we are one?
Oh my gosh. I think, again, this is such an important topic right now, right? Like, the collective, like coming together as a collective, women from different backgrounds, cultures, coming in with different circumstances, like really seeing just the collective common experience of women as one, and we all have that wild woman within us. We all have it. So I think that's definitely one way that my workshop contributes to this theme this year. And I'm so excited about this theme, Chris. It's like spot on for this year.
Well, that's how the council works this. We come from last year was a great theme too. And we actually had a different theme before
Oh
we
yeah.
settled on this one. We were working with a different theme. And then things in our lives just shifted. And I came to the
Yeah.
council and said, wait, I don't resonate with this anymore. Let's rethink this. And then we came up
Yes.
with this. Um, and it's really about, being inclusive in community and really honoring all women and celebrating that spirit
Yes.
in all of us and bringing that diversity and knowing that, even though with all our diversity, there's still a
Mhm.
oneness. What do we have in common, and learning about our
Yes.
differences. So we have a lot of panels. So I wanted to have you talk about
Yeah.
the panel you're on is stories of our gifts, wisdom through the generations. What do you think the 30-year-olds bring to our
Oh
world?
my God. This is like, I was thinking about this question before, Chris. And it's just such a big question. My hope, my hope is that the 30-year-olds can bring just a perspective. I mean, I have learned so much this year, Chris. I have learned so much this year. The things that I've learned that, the things that were on my dream board at the very beginning of this year were actually things that weren't, that didn't matter, like actually, you know, recognizing and bringing people together from different backgrounds, like, trying to move away from this divisiveness that this world we've been living in this year. I hope that the 30-year-olds, I, as one of those, can bring a perspective of learning, of vulnerability, of being here to just have an open heart, open mind perspective. Yeah, yeah, I feel like it's a tall order for all of us, this year, and where we're going with anti-racism, and coming together as a whole. So those are a few things that I hope to add.
Well, so my next thought, and it's in the same line, but what impact would you like to have? What kind of changes in our world will that bring?
Yeah, one thing that comes to mind, Chris, is I hope that we can all start to see a little bit of ourselves in each other, right? Like understanding that we all come from a different place, right? Like I might not be able to understand what it's like to grow up as an African-American woman in this world, right? But I can be there and hold space and learn and really get clear about what I can do as a white woman of privilege who has unknowingly benefited from the systemic racism in this world and in our culture, what I can do better, and being willing to mess up, like to set the example of, this is scary, this is hard, I don't know all the answers, but being willing to step forward because things need to change, and being courageous in that. And if I mess up, not allowing that to be an excuse to back down or back away, but to
Right.
continue moving forward. Yes.
And we have to allow ourselves, we're going to make mistakes, and we have to, it's better to do something, learn from our mistake, than do nothing.
Yeah.
And we've been doing nothing for a long time. So,
Right.
yeah, and part of it is too is educating ourselves so that we learn what are our biases, how has white privilege impacted our lives,
Yeah.
and seeing the differences for other people, because that's impacted other people. Our white
Yes.
privilege has impacted people of color and
Mhm.
all that. And so, yeah, we're kind of in a learning curve, I think, now, of awareness and what it is that we can do. So it's very exciting that, this will come out in this panel, but we also have a racial panel and we have a community panel. And so we're going to have some great dialogues at the conference.
Yes, I'm so excited.
So what would you like our listeners to walk away with with our talk today? What message do you want to give them?
Oh my gosh. Put joy at the top of your to-do list because you will not regret it. Life is for living and bringing out that wild woman that is within all of us. Yeah, you will not regret it. This life is so short. And if we've learned anything from this past year, anything can happen, right? So prioritize that joy, prioritize, bringing forth that wild woman within you. You will not regret it.
Okay. Well, I encourage people to check out Ashley's workshop at the conference. You can visit our website, womanofwisdom.org. The schedule's there. There's a presenter page with all the bios and photos. You can also visit Ashley's website. It's uniqueholistichappiness.com.
Yes.
And and just give yourself a gift of joy to come to the conference. And if you don't have the whole weekend, you can buy a day pass for Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. There's special prices for young women from 20 to 29 and teens and our seniors. So, and there's an early bird through January 18th. So I encourage everybody to check it out at womanofwisdom.org. So thanks again, Ashley. It was great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Chris.